Okay, now we're on to part 2 of lesson 81. Put your heading on, your name, number, date, first and last in cursive. Remember to put the date that you are working on these notes, not necessarily the date I am writing. And our subject is math. All right. We have some questions here we need to answer. And instead of having work and our solution, we're actually going to answer the question and then explain our answer. Which two quadrilaterals always have right angles? And explain. Two shapes are square and rectangle. Part of the definition of a square and a rectangle is that they have four right angles. That is what makes them special, is that they have four right angles. Squares and rectangles will always have right angles. Otherwise, they're just a parallelogram or just a rhombus. Which quadrilateral has just one pair of parallel sides? Explain. So trapezoid has the one pair of parallel sides. If it has no pairs of parallel sides, it is just a quadrilateral. And if it has two pairs of parallel sides, it is a parallelogram. So based on definitions, no pairs would make it a quadrilateral, two pairs would make it a parallelogram. So one pair is the special definition for trapezoid that we're using. Okay, here we're not putting shape exactly, but we are answering the question, true or false. Is the following statement true or false? A square is a rectangle. Is a square a rectangle? Yes, that is true. Because remember, it doesn't have to do with length of sides, it has to do with right angles. Since all rectangles have right angles and all squares have right angles, all squares would be called a rectangle. Because it has to do with the angles, not the sides. Since a square has four right angles, it meets the definition of a rectangle. Similarly, if we asked if a square is a rhombus, we could say it's true. Since a square has 4 congruent sides, it meets the definition of a rhombus. Next one. Is the following statement true or false? A rectangle is a square. Now, we said all squares are rectangles, but are all rectangles square? What makes a square a square? Well, 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. Do all rectangles have 4 congruent sides? No, that would be false. The definition of a rectangle only deals with angles and not lengths of sides. And a square must have 4 congruent sides, or 4 sides with equal measure. So we can't guarantee a rectangle will always have 4 equal sides, so it can't be called a square. Since rectangles only deal with the angles, the 4 right angles, a square can be called a rectangle. But a square also must have 4 equal sides, so a rectangle can't be called a square. Alright, so now we're looking at these shapes down here. And we have to classify the figure with the most specific name. Well, this has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, so it is a quadrilateral. Are any sides parallel? No, there's no sides that are an equal distance apart. If you extended them, they would cross, they would intersect. So that can't be a trapezoid, it can't be a parallelogram. If it can't be those, then there's no other specific one. So this would be a quadrilateral. And why do we call it that? The shape has 4 sides. That's the only thing that could let us know what it is. No parallel, no angle measure, nothing like that. So that's it. Okay, classify the figure with its most specific name. Well, it does have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. So it is a quadrilateral. It does have a pair of parallel sides here. They're the equal distance apart the whole way. If I extend them out, they will not cross. But these 2 sides are not parallel. They are not an equal distance apart. If I extend them, they would cross. So one pair of parallel sides would be a trapezoid. If we were in higher grades, we could look at the fact that this has 2 right angles and call it a right trapezoid. But trapezoid is fine right now. The shape has 4 sides and 1 pair of parallel sides. Next, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, so it is quadrilateral. We have these 2 sides are parallel to each other, equal distance apart. They will not cross if I extend them out. These 2 sides are parallel. They will not cross if I extend them out. They're an equal distance apart. So it is a parallelogram, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal sides. So it is a rhombus. I have no right angles. I have 2 obtuse angles and 2 acute angles. So it is not a square. So the most specific name would be a rhombus. The shape has 4 sides, making it a quadrilateral. 2 pairs of parallel sides, making it a parallelogram, and 4 congruent sides, making it a rhombus, and no right angles, so it's not a square. Okay, this last one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, so it is a quadrilateral. We have opposite sides are parallel. If I extend them out, they will not cross. They're an equal distance apart, both pair. But not all 4 sides are equal in measure. These 2 sides are, and these 2 sides are. So it's not a rhombus. And I do not have right angles, so it is not a rectangle. I have 2 obtuse and 2 acute. So the most precise name would be a parallelogram. The shape has 4 sides, and 2 pairs of parallel sides. Okay, so now we're going to practice more with classifying our special quadrilaterals. Thank you for joining me.